welcome back to another episode of I'm in the Shop. And last episode we just got back from LANGS off-road with our suspension all done, which is fantastic. And it's back on the bike. And now what we're going to do is start pulling apart our intake so that we can start thinking about installing our C3 intake, special Snowbike intake. So the reason behind this is if you're riding in fluffy, powdery snow and it's kind of fluffing up everywhere, a lot of it builds up inside your air box. And if you have your standard air filter on there, that foam filter, it just packs up against that filter, and then all of a sudden you get so much snow in there, it starves the entire system of air, and the bike just dies, or it doesn't produce hardly any power. So what the guys at C3 have done is some pretty nifty stuff. And you know, when you first look at this, you're like, that's going to protect my engine, that's an air intake, air filter. But one thing you have to remember is you're not really using it in the dirt and in the mud, and you know, it's in snow, so all it has to repel is basically snow and moisture and water. So they put this cage on, and this bolts right up to your throttle body, or to the intake tube by your throttle body, and it has its own input. So you put your air sense temper, airflow sensor why can't I say this? The airflow sensor, it bolts into your air box. You take it out and you put it into this instead, so it reads the correct airflow. And then there's basically a sock, like a frog skin sock. It's a very thin material, and what it does is the holes in this are smaller, kind of like Gore-Tex in a way, so that water droplets can't penetrate through. It's a dual layer as well, just in case if something weird happens, and then or snow. So it fluffs off of this, and then you have a much larger airspace underneath your bike by your intake here that allows the snow to slough away. You get fresh air into your bike. All this good in the world. I've been using them now for about 4 years, and I've absolutely loved them. They're fantastic. Before, I tried running a conventional air box, and nope. Anytime I had a powder day or a really cold powder day, I knew that was it. I'm gonna have to open my air box up every 10 or 15 kilometers, scoop out all the snow, go again, and we didn't really want to do that. So we're going to install this today. Let's get started. Okay, so once again, included in the kit, we've got the pretty much the pre-filter sock right there, made by Outerwear, supplied by C3, and then C3 makes a special boot that's tapered and everything, that's supposed to hook up and allow you to connect all this to your air system. Hose clamps, this breather filter. Now, so this is to replace the line that would be going into your air box for your crankcase vent hose, so that it can still breathe, but without getting snow into the engine or moisture. Because that crankcase, it pushes out, breathes in, pushes out, breathes in, pushes out, breathes in with the rotation of the engine. So we need to have that breathing, and we don't want to get water in our engine, because we know what happens when that goes down. And then, of course, like I said, the cage that holds it all in place, and 2 convenient screws for the airflow temp sensor. Because we're going to have to wind up taking off the rear wheel, the swing arm, and everything to put on the kit, we're going to yank that off now. And then I'm going to take the back half of the exhaust off. I'm going to take the shock out, the subframe. I'm going to swing up and make yourself space and disconnect the air intake from the throttle body here, so that we basically are replacing the whole kind of airbox assembly. So it's a bit involved. Follow your instruction manual on how to disassemble this stuff for your bike. Okay, so as you can see, we've pulled off the swing arm, the rear suspension, got my muffler out of the way. In order for me to lift the swing arm, the subframe, I have to take that off. And we have removed our OEM for the KTM, the airbox. Well, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what to call it, but anyways, air filter goes against this. This goes to the throttle body or a carburetor. It's an older bike, and bada bing, bada boom. That's how that system works. This needs to come out, It's real simple. Crankcase breather hose comes off, and then once you've got all the bolts out, this just pulls out. It's just pressure fitted into the plastic. Now, for the win, C3, in the past, if you were to do this to a KTM, you actually had to cut out a partial section of your air box casing right here to make it all fit. Well, not anymore, which is great because I was sick and tired of replacing the whole entire piece of plastic every season. They've got some new bends. Even these little bulbs in here that you see, that's not a mistake. They have tested how air flows through this to understand how much drag it needs or how much flow it needs in order to perform well, or perform as good as factory, if not maybe better. And then, yeah, so this just connects now up to our throttle body. So, boom. And then if you come around this side, you can see that all I have to do now is put my intake tube in here, or my air filter slash intake tube thing, yeah, and then I'm good to go. So, and then that's it. And this big open area will allow snow to slough and fall out, and we don't have to worry about filling this up with air or with snow and choking out the bike. Okay, airflow sensor has been relocated, so we took it out of the side of the air box here, the side of the bike, and simply just use the screws that they provided and put it back on so that when the air flows through, the bike understands the computer what the hell is going on. The sock will go on like so. It's pretty simple. It's got a really tight elastic, so it's a little tricky to do. Like so. And then our crankcase air filter breather. Okay. That's going to simply, it'll have a hose clamp if you want to put it on there. I recommend keeping on tight. Once snow piles up in there, it can really push things around and you don't want to lose that. Anyways, so I lift up the subframe. Here's the crankcase breather that went in the intake. I'm simply just going to stick that in there, zip tie it around, and tighten it up. And I can just sit off to the side and all is good in the world. All right, so we're in place. We've got it there. Again, everything fits. No more cutting needed for the air box, which is awesome. And then if we come around to the other side of the bike, down in here, look in, we got our airflow sensor relocated. So all we do now is just take this cable and plug it in. Nice snap, good in place. And then here's our crankcase breather. And there's a very cool and convenient, an Osling branded C3. It's pretty cool. And yeah, I just used the factory hose clamp that came with the bike to attach that, and zip tie it up against the frame so it's not flopping around. And there we go, it's ready. So that concludes our intake modification for the Snowbike. Is it absolutely mandatory? If you want performance in the backcountry and stuff that works perfect, that C3 intake along with the crankcase breather is it's the way to go. So well done. Join us for our next episode when we're actually starting to marry that big beautiful beast right there onto this big beautiful beast right here. Thanks for watching.